All right, we're recording.
Okay, we're golden. Hey everyone, welcome to the Fitness XFactor podcast. I'm your host, Lance King, and today we are thrilled to have with us Sam Taggart. Now, Sam Taggart is the CEO of the D2D Experts, and if you're in the door-to-door world, it's highly likely that you've been to one of 7 D2D cons. Is that right?
We're going on our 7th.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is the 7th. So thrilled to talk with Sam. Sam is going to be talking to us about the X factors that he's had in his fitness journey and how he's tied that into himself as a CEO and also to his culture here at the D2D Experts. So welcome, Sam. Thrilled to have you here.
It's fun to be here.
Yeah,
man.
this is super fun. So right out the gate, we want to make sure that our listeners are getting high value and that when they leave, they have some sort of an X factor that inspires them to then take real action in their fitness journey. And so just at the outset, what would you say has been like the number one like X factor that's helped you to become the most successful in your fitness journey?
I think like having kind of like benchmarks. I found like if I'm not challenging myself fitness wise, like if I'm just kind of like floating, then there's no game to play. And so I would do things like, when I was 30, so a couple years ago, I trained to dunk a basketball. I'm 5'10", white dude, never could touch the rim. And I was like, maybe we could change that belief system of I can't jump, white man can't jump. I've never been able to I didn't have hops.
Right.
And so I did a jump training and I dunked. Then I was like, I want to run a marathon. And
so you did?
Yeah, I threw down.
That's remarkable.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could do that right now, but it was cool to train towards something. And what that does is it recreates a belief system. I never was a runner. I hated running. And I was like, well, I should run a marathon. And everybody's like, well, I don't like running. I was like, well, I just need to retrain my identity to that association. Cause we've been programmed. Like, I think because in football practice, I associated running as a punishment. Oh, and it was like cardio, totally. Ew, F that.
Yeah.
But I was like, maybe there's a benefit in cardio. There's some joy in this. And, training for your running every Saturday, you're at 6-mile run, then you're at 7-mile run. Then the next Saturday you're doing a 10-mile run and you're slowly hitting a PR every week. But what that it did is in turn in my business was like, oh, what else could I do? I'm hitting new PRs. Like, where is the correlation between training and running for a marathon? Then I was like, okay, let's do an Ironman. So then I did an Ironman.
Oh my goodness.
So, that's a 2.5-mile swim, 115-mile bike ride, marathon, so I was like, okay, so training for that, you start to learn where's your limits, where's your pain, where's your consistency, where's your, and what's interesting, I trained for like 6 months, but I travel 3 weeks a month. So it's like, okay, you're going to do an Ironman, but you're never home.
Right.
How are you going to do it? So then it's like, okay, that's another challenge that the fitness gets to add on.
That's right.
And, I'm running a business, I'm a father, there's all these things that are also in life. And so I'd always make the excuse, I'm like, oh, I'm traveling. So then I was like, I can't make that excuse. I don't want this Ironman to show up. And I'm like, well, I couldn't train because I was traveling.
That's right. Yeah.
And if I'm a high performer, excuses can't, I don't want to play that game. So
that's right.
I'd find times where I'm in Dubai and I'm renting a bike and biking on this like crazy trail in the sand dunes, and I'm in Mexico swimming, and I'm finding little gyms in Chicago and Florida and all these places that I remember going on little adventure runs in Hawaii and, finding opportunities. Phenomenal. And it was like, oh, cool. I get to explore some random town in Thailand.
Absolutely. You're making the trip become even more meaningful.
Yeah, it's fun.
Because of what you're designing. You're designing your life in such a way that you're fitting those kind of things in. And so it's a priority.
Yes.
When did fitness become a priority for you where you're able to say, okay, I'm going to design my life in such a way that I can be successful in both business and fitness?
I think once I kind of stopped with the self-deception, I think I told myself like, oh, you're not fat, but you're okay, right? Yeah. And I had this all belief system. I never had a 6-pack. I never was the guy that was like, oh, damn, look at him. But I never was the kid that was fat. So it was like I was just like a dad bod,
Yeah.
typical dad bod, right? And I remember I'm at Lake Powell. I'm running a mastermind with a bunch of CEOs, and we filmed a GoPro video of a slip and slide, us going down this slip and slide in slow motion, and I could just see my jiggle. Like, imagine just hitting every little bump going down this massive slip and slide. It's like, doom,
With the
boom,
wave.
boom, boom. And I'm just like, oh man, that's what I look like. And I just, like, I vividly remember that moment, and I was like, oh shoot. And I think that's when I challenged myself to I think I did the marathon, then dunked, then the Ironman. But like, I was like, man, I need to change my identity. I weighed 185 with a certain body fat percentage fluctuation, like my whole life. And it was like, that was what I associated my weight to.
Right.
So when I trained for the running, I went down to like 171, 172, and I just retrained my mind to be associated with 175, 173.
Yep.
And now if I get above 175, I'm like, oh crap. Where before it was like, if I get above 185, I'm like, oh crap. Like there's just like maintain 1 or 2 degrees of like separation right there. And now my identity's around 175. And I've had that for the last 5 years or 4 years or whatever.
Remarkable.
And so now it's like, I'm trying to get to the point where it's like, okay, I did a DEXA scan. I'm at 17% body fat. I'm like, maybe I need to create a new identity to where my percent of body fat is. And, you know, I was working out this morning, and took my shirt off, and I was doing that little ab roller, and I was like, damn, I think I'm a little thicker around the abs right now. Like, and I just was in Africa for 2 weeks and it was hard. And I was like, my identity was, if I saw myself today, 5 years ago, I'd have been like, damn.
Yeah.
But I saw myself today in the mirror, and I was like, damn, you're getting a little chubby.
That's right.
And I was like, boom, I know my identity has shifted inside
exactly.
of what my expectation of my stomach should look like.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And so there are certain patterns that you've incorporated in your life that help you to then reach these different identities. And what would you say some of those patterns have been?
Consistency over intensity. Like, it's like, how do you know, it's kind of one of my mottos. Like, I don't care if it's midnight. Like, that's why I like a home gym, is it's like efficiency.
Yeah.
This morning I worked out at a home gym. I ran up my backyard. I did a mile run up the trail, and then
Phenomenal.
and then I'd worked out, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like I had the time. But there's some times where yesterday we did yoga, hot yoga, and then I was like, but I still didn't get my lift in, so I did a 15-minute shoulder workout.
Okay.
It wasn't anything crazy, but I did 15
Out
minutes
of principle.
Yeah, I'm like, I still want to get my lift in.
Exactly.
Whether I'm in a hotel and I'm just doing push-ups, or I'm swimming in some ocean, or I'm at a gym, I can go for 90 minutes. Like, I'm going to be consistent. And so that has helped me build trust in myself to be like, I was doing literally Africa workouts last week with this like ghetto African gyms. Like, I'm telling you, like, I almost went on a trail run, and then they were like, if you leave the gate, you will get eaten by a lion. And I was like, oh shit. There were literally lions right outside our game reserve. And they told me like, no, you can't go on a run. I was like, I'm going on a run. It's gonna be okay. Literally, what's funny is like they did a little like bushwalk later in that afternoon, and they almost got charged by this African buffalo. And I was like, damn, imagine me at 5 a.m. doing a trail run by myself, getting charged by some African buffalo or eaten by a lion. I was like, damn.
Wow.
Anyway,
that is.
But consistency over intensity, that's one. And then 2 is just making it fun. Like, you know, having you as a coach, you know, you guys got to give shout out to Lance, like his program, the app, it just gives it a simple, I don't have to think, what should I do today?
That's right.
I think a lot of times, like, having a program to follow gives you the answers. It's like, I don't want to think like, what am I working out? It's like, I just pull out the app. I'm like, oh, okay, I got 3 sets of this.
That's
and 4
right.
sets, you know,
That's right. Something that's done for you.
it's done for me.
And it seems like that there's a consistent pattern with a lot of CEOs where once you get to a certain level of life, you're always about efficiencies.
Yes.
And so how can I wake up in the morning, not have to think about anything, but if I know I have an application that I can turn on, then I know what I'm doing. And so talk to us though, with that principle you mentioned. Let's see, it was consistency over intensity. Is that what you said? So many of the listeners might see a marathon and an Ironman as being like the most intense. And I'll admit, I've done a marathon, but whenever I think of an Ironman, like that is like next level. And so unpack like your mindset, because I think it's a mindset thing to be able to look at things like a marathon and to say, hey, that's not as intense as it seems.
Well, let me ask you this. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm a high performer or I'm a business owner, where else is that showing up?
That's right.
Are you limiting?
That's brilliant.
Like, think about that.
Yeah.
Are you limiting your business because you can't conceive
Yep.
something hard?
Yes.
Are you limiting the growth of your company or your sales results or whatever that is because you can't comprehend yourself doing something such as great as an Ironman?
Yeah.
But put it in perspective. I ran number 38 or something like that of 101 that the Iron Cowboy did. So he challenges me and he says, hey, just come run one of them that I'm going to do 100 in 100 days. Can't you just do one with me? Well, you put it in that perspective. You're over here like, oh, shiz, I couldn't even comprehend an Ironman. And I'm over here, I can't comprehend 100 in 100 days in a row, back to back.
That's right.
And I'm like, yeah, I can just do one. So that helped me by having a network, a friend that was in such a different playing field.
Yeah.
Give me confidence of being like, yeah, I could probably just do one.
Yeah.
He made it sound so easy, but when you just look at Ironman and comparison to your hour workout, yeah, you're going to get your ass kicked.
That's very
so
different.
it goes back to like your environment.
Yeah.
It goes back to, can you comprehend what's next in your sales numbers? What's next in your leadership? What's next in your goals? Like, and I just realized like my discipline is contagious in fitness, it is into my sales numbers, is it into my morning routine. Like I was up at 5 this morning, meditating, reading. So it's like, I don't look at just fitness as like my, I worked out or I did a weight lift. Like right now I'm trying to put on muscle and like look sexy.
Yeah.
look at these guns. No, but I look at it like, okay, can I be disciplined enough to wake up in the morning and do my breath work or my meditation and do my, routine?
This is the Taggart routine.
Yeah, like
I'd love if you unpack that because participating in your boot camps, I go through this Taggart experience, this Taggart routine with the people that are there. Can you unpack just some of the highlights?
Yeah, so I've like kind of built a variation of a morning routine over the last 10 years of things that resonate with me. So, you get up and you meditate, you write in your journal, you do your affirmations, you read, so it's like read a book, then you send love, shake the emotional tree, you go on, there's a whole thing. Like it's like 20 things. If I have the full 2 hours, then I work out. So that's another hour. So it's usually like a 3-hour thing.
Right.
So it's like
and at what point did you develop this to where this was, because this is a non-negotiable for you, as I understand it.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and then it's elastic. Do I always have 3 hours?
Okay.
No. So
yeah, exactly.
Sometimes I'm in Africa and I wake up and they're like,
that's a really good
they're
point.
like, hey, we're starting the safari at 6 a.m. You're
That's
like,
right.
okay, I'm not going to get up at 3.
That's right.
So I have to have a 20-minute version, a 60-minute version, and a 2-hour version.
Interesting.
So it's like if I only have 20 minutes, I'm like, cool, I'll do 1 minute of journaling, 1 minute of affirmations, 5 minutes of reading. You know what I mean? It's a very simple 5 minutes of meditation. It's not like I get to do a 25-minute meditation like I like to do.
Yeah.
And so you have giving yourself some grace and flexibility, but I look at health or fitness as that plus diet and nutrition. So it's like you have us on intermittent fasting, and that's right. It seemed to challenge me in a different way. It's like last night I really wanted a bowl of cereal. This morning was my kid's birthday and we made him waffles and whipped cream and toppings, and I was like, that looks delicious. He didn't even eat half of them. What does the typical Sam do? Goes over, takes the rest of his effing waffles and chows them down. Right. But in my head, I'm like, no, I need to get back on it because I saw myself rolling and I was like, damn it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was over here like, I saw my fat rolls and those waffles aren't going to contribute. You know what I mean? So a lot of people, they're like, it's the correlation between those things, your routines, your discipline, that rolls into your nutrition, that rolls into your intensity of your workout, that rolls into your accountability.
Yep. So each has a strong correlation to support the other.
Yes.
So the more you have a focus of fitness, the more you expect your sales performance and,
100%.
And your leadership. And talk about what you're doing as a leader with your culture here in the D2D Experts in Fitness.
Yeah, I got a lot of fat people in the company.
So, but if you're listening, I'm just PHAT. I know.
PH. No, but like, for me, I'm like, I have some ripped people that are way shreddier than I am too. So it's like, I think if we don't holistically approach, I mean, that's why we're building Expand, is because it's like, I think companies I think gone is the day where you can just tell your sales reps, grind, work harder, grind, work
That's
harder.
right.
Like, I'm like, I don't like that level of leadership. Like for me, I'm like, no, I want you to just be happier. And I want part of that is going to, when you look in the mirror and you're confident about your body and
Yes.
you know that you're extending the longevity of your life
Yeah.
and you don't huff and puff when you're trying to walk up a hill in a flight of stairs,
Absolutely. Yes.
you're going to be happier.
Yeah.
But when I see guys having to take, like, I remember one of my employees, he's changed his shirt 3 times and couldn't make it up the hill when we were at an event one time. And I was like, bro,
Yeah.
is this really? And he's like, well, back in my day, you know, he shows me his pictures and I'm like, well, that was cool 10 years ago, bro. Like health isn't a destination where you check the box like 10 years ago. Like where are you at today? Like where are you going to be at when you're 30 and 40 and 50 and 60? And I think if we can teach the habits and behaviors to the employees, it doesn't just, you know, it only creates a better satisfaction to their life, which in hopefully in return, they're like, oh, I want to work harder and I can show up in a better way in the business, you know, but it's not like that's what I'm need. It's just like, dude, I hope you feel like we don't just care about your, what did you do to the bottom line at our company? It's like, I hope that you realize it's like, no, I hope, your health is important to us.
Absolutely. And what's remarkable, so for the viewers, for the listeners, the program that Sam has going here, every week there is what's called a SWOT analysis. And that SWOT analysis breaks down strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for what people are doing with their nutrition and from their physical fitness. But that said, it's respectful the fact that people are at a full range of
there's some people that their win is like, I went on a walk.
Yeah, that's right. And what I saw before coming and helping Sam's company with fitness coaching is he uses a software platform where everybody checks in every day on what they're doing to stay motivated. And where did you get that from? When did you start doing that?
Yeah, I love, like, part of it, we call it our company fitness group chat, essentially. And seeing the hype on that and staying motivated in the sense of like every time we're doing something physical, you post on that thing and it keeps everybody motivated and accountable. And so we actually implemented a thing called the 5 C's, which we stand for ClickUp, CRM, calendar, contribution, connectedness, and curiosity. So we actually, the connectedness that they get graded on every week by their department head is going to say, how connected were you to the company?
Brilliant.
Meaning they have to post in personal development. So what are you reading and what are you learning mentally? And then posting fitness wise, how connected were you in the sense of, are you participating or are you not? And if they don't, then they get docked on their 1 of 5 grade. And so it's like, bro, you got ones because you didn't post on there once, bro. and so they're actually bonused out at the end of the month.
So smart.
So we correlated a recognition, bonus structure, and accountability structure to make sure everybody stays engaged. Because, you know, it's easy for one person in the company to be like, F this is stupid. And some people are more bought in than others. You're never going to be able to like force everybody to like, drink that Kool-Aid or you're fired kind of thing. But like at the end of the day, like, one of our core values is unity. And so if we value unity, I would hope that everybody here that works here sees this as an opportunity to be on a unified front, to see the same value of health and contributing and motivating each other. And that's what I would just expect.
And what I hear you often say to people at boot camps and here at the DDD Experts is to go full out. And that's something that I've actually started adopting in my family, but I'd love just your definition. What does it mean to go full out?
Yeah, I mean, full send is one of my mantras. And so, you know, it's funny, like when we do a trip like this Africa one, we use that. It's like we stayed in the nice places. We did some epic stuff. We went shark diving. We went, you know, hardcore safari like 3 days into the bougie, like cool, good ones. Like it wasn't like we're just out there hopefully finding an elephant. Like, no, we had elephants outside our effing door. Like, and I think too many people don't do all their elements of life full out. Meaning, I call it the wheel. You have your wealth, your health, your enlightenment or spirituality element. You have your education and your love. Like your, you know, what are you doing for your relationship? So it's like, you know, Monday night, and if your wheel, one of the spokes is flat or broken, then your wheel's going to roll lopsided, right?
Yeah.
And so, Monday night, we happened to have a night with no kids. And it was like, okay, what am I going to do like, this is an opportunity. Like, there's no kids.
Yep.
I don't have anything on the calendar. So I was like, all right, I'm going to DoorDash. We're going to do a candlelit picnic up on the deck and just do acro yoga and chill.
Phenomenal.
And and it's like, I'm going to go all out like tonight on a date. Like, even though it's simple, like it's at our house, like a DoorDash it in, but it's like, can I invest in love right now?
Yes.
And then it's like, come fitness, like, hey, I'm going to pay somebody to coach me.
That's right.
Because I care about it.
That's right.
I'm going to prioritize it.
That's right.
When it comes to, I just had a coaching call from another lady yesterday. She's like my breakthrough coach when it comes to educational or emotional. Yes. So I presented X problem to her yesterday, and she gave me a whole synopsis email breakdown, and I pay her to do that for me.
Yeah.
And then if I'm going to full out, like, what is each thing that I'm paying money? Because if I'm full out, I'm going to invest resources into it.
Yep.
That's how I know it's a priority. It's like I'm spending time, money, energy towards the thing.
Yes.
But if I'm not spending time, money, and energy towards health, then obviously I'm not playing full out with my health.
Absolutely.
If I'm not spending time, money, and energy in a relationship, then I'm not playing full out there.
Yes.
And life's meant to be, I wrote a book on this, The Self-Experience. It's about experiencing life to its fullest.
Yes. Yeah. And I like to say, your fitness success is never owned. It's rented, and the rent is due every day. But that's not just your physical fitness. That I'm hearing from you, you're a testament of emotional fitness, mental fitness, spiritual and physical fitness.
Yes.
To become that whole person. And from what I've gathered as well, it helps you to become more present in life, in your relationships, and in the things that you're focusing on. You're moving toward these bucket list items, which is that trip that you just took, and in the company, the company is directly benefiting from things that you're doing to be a whole person. So this company has this multifaceted approach in the culture to become interconnected, and it's absolutely brilliant, and it starts from the top down.
Yeah.
So a couple more questions I'd like to ask. So. One, you talked about things that you're reading. So mental fitness, like what's a book that you're reading right now that you'd recommend?
Well, I'm reading the Bear Grylls biography right now, which is pretty interesting.
Okay.
And then I'm usually reading a physical book and then listening to an audiobook, which the audiobook is what I'd probably more so recommend. Leadership Dichotomy by Jocko Willing.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny because like each category requires certain types of reading. Yeah. So like if I'm thinking enlightenment, I'd recommend the book Awareness by Anthony DeMello. Or if I'm thinking business, it's like Traction by Gino Wickman. Yes. If I'm thinking sales, I'm going Brian Tracy. If I'm thinking this, like, so people like when they say, what book should I read? I'm like, what problem do you have? Yeah. Like I could play doctor. I've read hundreds of books, but it's like, tell me what your problem is.
I love that.
And when you're trying to say, I think too many people, they don't have intentionality to their read. Like, why am I reading a Bear Grylls biography and a leadership book by Jocko Willing? Yeah. And, I just listened to Self Mastery by, Juan Miguel, whatever. He wrote the 4 Agreements and the 5th Agreement.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I just went through that as well.
So it's like, that was very intentional in the time in which I needed it. The leadership book is very much like, okay, I need to be more militant because I just hired these like Navy SEALs cats to like kick me in the nuts. So I was like, I need to read a military type like concepts. So like, it's like, what am I interested in and curious about, and how do I find a book that associates that?
Right. And what I'm gathering from that is you're learning how to think like the authors.
So why do you think I'm reading a Bear Grylls biography?
I'm interested.
What's in October? Tahiti.
Oh, that's right.
Survivor.
That's right.
How cool.
I'm
getting ideas of like wilderness.
Title. So it's called Bear what?
Bear Grylls. He was the dude that was like on the show where they drop him in the wilderness and he'd have to survive. Like,
okay.
So he's like your most wild. It's like Out in the Wild. I can't remember the title of the show, but like he's like kind of your most famous survivalist. Like they would put him in the most extreme scenarios, and they'd say, "All right, you're in the tundra of like Russia, and you've got to cross that river, and you're naked." And it's negative 40 degrees and you're out here for 3 days. Good luck. You know what I mean?
How do you evaluate what resources?
Yeah. And he's like, I found this like goat testicle that I had to eat and stay warm by wrapping, like, and it just goes through all the crazy shit you had to do.
Wow.
But it's helping me gain insight and ideas we're going to host our own Survivor games in Tahiti, which is like, so I'm like, okay, maybe this will spark some curiosity and creativity when I come up with my concepts and trainings. Because it's like, what are the life lessons learned through survivalists? And if I have to give content on leadership principles to correlate, maybe I should kind of have some source of information.
Oh, that's brilliant. And you are so quick to apply the things that you're reading. So you're reading because you're trying to think like the author, but you're quick to put people through
I'm all about it.
What you're reading. And what is it about you that's so motivated to give other people that experience? I mean, you wrote a whole book about it.
Well, it's just like the service thing we did in Africa. So like, it's one thing to go to Africa, but we spent a day in a tribe where we were working in the garden and we were hanging out like the kids that were just in this like impoverished school. And like, I even asked Dee, I was like, have you ever done anything like this? And she's like, no. And like nobody had.
No.
And I was like, man, I lived in the Philippines for a year when I was 5 and just worked in an orphanage every day. My parents my parents go to Sierra Leone in West Africa in December again to go on another mission. Like, I went every single year. Last year I was in Guatemala for a week and we just worked in these little villages teaching gardening. I've been to Africa, like 4 different places, Thailand, Nepal, Ghana, like Cuba. I've done service all over the world.
Yeah.
And I've done that 50 times.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like, this is my own medicine. I was like, I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for me. It's such a prescription that I needed.
Brilliant.
And I'm breaking down in tears and stuff. But I was like, man, this is the first time these guys ever get to do that.
Yeah.
And, I selfishly, like, for example, next month, I'm hiring a whole rodeo team to like host an entire rodeo custom for us because I just rode a bull for the first time. And I'm like, I want to give that experience to everyone else to be able to ride a bull. And I'm like stoked to ride a bull again. But where else are you going to get the chance? And then if they associate, they're like, man, Sam, because he was audacious enough to go plan a bull riding rodeo that I got to ride a bull. How badass is that? You know what I mean? Or I'm going to host a survivalist game where you're like, I've watched every episode of Survivor and I get to like,
I have.
And I'm like, where else would you ever proactively just sign up for shit like that?
People can't even fathom that could be a part of their lives.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. Where else do you get to, so it's like, we went and did from, I don't know, ayahuasca to Peru to heli skiing into Canada to, some of our experiences have made people walk on fire to drink shit to like, I mean, I've done all sorts of random shit. I'm like,
we're not going to be eating bugs when we go to Tahiti, are we?
No comment. I don't know.
I mean, actually, there's nothing that's awesome.
I'm learning from Bear Grylls. Yeah. If it's clear urine, you can drink it, but don't drink it if it's yellow urine.
Oh my God.
That's all I got to say.
Yeah. A preview of coming attractions. It makes me think a lot, though, about John Maxwell. He talks about the 3 seasons of life. So you have a season to learn, a season to earn, and then a season to return. You have just a beautiful blend of all 3, where you're constantly learning, you're constantly earning as a result, and part of your earning and being fulfilled is what you're doing to return.
Yeah, I would say it's like super selfish and giving.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, this is absolutely remarkable, and I've loved unpacking the fitness side, but more so how fitness is part of you being a whole person, and then what you're doing as a whole person to then give what you're doing to let your light shine for other people, to give them a preview of what you've experienced in life. Because I think when you look back on your life, you're going to have volumes of books that could be written about what you've done. And at the end of your life, what would you say, I mean, you're on your deathbed and you're talking to your family. What would you say are 3 things that you've come to know are absolute truths about being fulfilled in life?
This is a great question. I mean, it's funny, like the material stuff, it's not going to matter at that point. You know what I mean? I think once you start to buy a nice car, you realize it's a car. Yeah. When you live in a nice house, you feel like it's a house. Yeah. Is it nice and convenient to have your own gym? Or my last house had a basketball court. Like that was cool. But you're like, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, whatever. So I think the first one is realizing that it's the people and the relationships that matter. And number two is it's the experiences that you were able to do. So it's like if I had all this money in a bank account but never did anything with it, it's like, well, what's the point?
Yes.
And then it's like, if I'm crippled and unhealthy, I don't care how rich you were, what would you rather have, $1 billion but you couldn't get out of bed, or you could get out of bed but you're broke?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Do the math on that. Imagine you had $1 billion but you're like bedridden. Cool, bro.
Yep.
Can't do shit with it.
Yep, that's right.
And then it's like, I'm healthy as freaking can be, but maybe I make 50 grand a year.
Yeah.
Which would you take?
Yeah.
You know, and so you're like, health, you know, being able to do the things. Like I watched, you know, we took some older people to Africa, and a couple of them, like, I was like, oh, let's go hike the Table Mountain, which is one of the new 7 wonders of the world. And it's like, I went and just ran up it, and then got to a part where I had to rock climb, and I was like, okay, that's probably dangerous. I need ropes. But like, they wouldn't even fathom to think to even start to attempt when I'm like contemplating free soloing the damn thing. And I'm like,
gosh,
I'm by myself at this point. Like, you know what I mean? But because I'm in physical shape to where I'm like, I could probably do it.
Yeah. Yep. So for listeners, what my number one takeaway listening to you talk is that the X factor is mindset. You have a mindset that parallels top performance. And so is it any wonder that you're seeing top performance in every area of your life? And is it any wonder that when you look at fitness objectives, business objectives, you are going full out? There's no question. And where does that come from? Where does that mindset come from? Can people listening to this that are like, I just can't be like Sam Taggart. Like, I could go to every conference, I could go to all of these boot camps, but I can't. You can't teach that. Like, how
well, it took 5 years for me to finally look in the mirror and say, I'm getting a little tubby. Or 5 years ago, I wouldn't have said that about me right now.
Right.
It takes a second to change your identity, but I was intentional about changing my identity.
Yes.
Now it's 175. I've been there for a minute.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, okay, let's go off of a body fat percentage.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Does that make sense? So it's like,
does.
what's your next thing? If you're a mile runner, could you move to a 5 mile runner?
Uh-huh.
And it's not about, I didn't say I went and ran a marathon. I said I became a runner.
I love that. Yes.
There's a very big difference between I ran a marathon to where I went on a mile run this morning. Why? Because I wanted to.
Yeah, that's right.
I ran up a hill too.
Yeah,
like it was up a mountain.
Yeah.
But like, for me, you're shifting these wrongfully domesticated belief systems that you get to unlearn.
Yep.
Because nobody convinced me I had to be a 185. Like, I just happened to build a habit of that. That wasn't a truth.
Yep.
Wasn't that I had convinced myself that I couldn't dunk a basketball.
Yeah.
I'm 5'10". Like, so everyone convinced me that wouldn't be possible.
Yep.
But then I see a guy that's 5'6" dunk a basketball, and I was like, well, if he could do it, like, so I think the challenging your truths and challenging what we call bullshit rules that maybe don't really apply to anybody. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
And being curious, all of a sudden you're going to watch the possibilities, and you're like,
absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. And with that curiosity, that's led you to these systems and processes.
Yeah. I'm no different than anybody listening to this thing.
Exactly. Yeah. How do you run a marathon? Well,
you start training.
Who are the people that have trained for this? What are the systems and processes?
I literally Googled marathon running training, and it gave me a 1-page with a 12-week running course. And I was like, oh, I'll just follow that picture that I see. That's it. Put it on my wall, and it had check boxes that I printed and just did the training.
That's remarkable.
I paid the $300 for a jump course. It was like some dude that was some white cat that jumped out of the gym, and I was like, yeah, sign me up for one of those like ClickFunnels course shit. Like, and I just followed it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, I did it.
Yeah, exactly. Success leaves clues.
Yes.
And you just got to pick up those clues, whether it's the people you're hanging out with, the systems that you employ, or the environments you place yourself in.
Yep.
Absolutely remarkable. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to tell listeners that, again, has helped you to scale in your fitness journey, or something that you're currently doing to help you get to the next level?
I think, from a fitness, like when you think of the fitness X factor, you could consider the X being your own like mindset or desire. I think a lot of people say they want to be fit, but for example, I talked to somebody, they're like, yeah, I can't seem to kick ice cream. And, and I was like, they're like, I come home and I feel like if I've worked hard all day, I deserve the ice cream. I was like, okay, if you eat ice cream, do you deserve a healthy body?
Yeah.
It's like, what does your body deserve? Doesn't it deserve some good nutrients?
That's
like,
instructive. Yeah.
And so it's like, I had this weird sugar addiction. I still do. Like, when I go on sugar, it's like, I'm a binger, dude. Like,
yeah.
And so I got to a point where I had to pay my assistant $1,000 every time I ate a gram of sugar Monday through Friday. And I did this challenge and I was like, damn, I ended up paying her like 10 grand because I was accountable to it and it sucked. But it was like, what am I willing to do that's going to be painful enough? And really, I desired to get over the stinking sugar like kick.
Right.
Like, do I have the self-discipline? Yes or no?
Yep.
And so my 2 cents would be like, you are the one that either gets in your way or not. Like, stop making stupid excuses, because so many people are like, well, I can't because my leg and I hurt my knee and I this and I that. I'm like, that is how you probably live life.
That's right. Yeah. And so what role will accountability play in helping you to maybe get the 6-pack abs that you're reaching for? Or...
I need somebody to yell at me. Like, I'm telling you, I'm like, you need to be like, Sam, you're looking fat, bro.
Yeah.
Like Dee literally asked her. I was like, she did. She's like, Sam, you really want to tell me? I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Nobody needs a pat on the back and be like, the fact is, if you get offended when somebody calls you fat, when you are fat, there's your problem.
Yeah, that's right.
If you're offended, if somebody looks at you and says, hey, you're fat, and you're like, what the hell, man? It's like, that's your issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's your issue.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good point.
You need somebody like that in your life.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, where you're looking at the last week and you're constantly trying to figure out, well, what are those daily things that are adding up in a positive or a negative way?
And can I be humble enough to be accountable to it?
Yeah, that's
Can
right.
I just be like, okay, thank you for the feedback.
Yeah.
Maybe you're content being that way, but like, if your goal, if you've already projected, I want to lose weight and I'm trying to be more fit, then you should be like humble enough to be like, okay, there's some room for improvement.
That's right.
Like, let's go.
That's right. And what would you say is like the one area for improvement, the threat is it like cereal or ice cream? Like, what are some of the things that for you, given that you have this busy day to day, is there something that you feel like
mine is if I'm like
feels justified?
I'm out at restaurants or I'm out with people or I'm out doing things, I'm out at an event. And of course they're going to have free dessert. They're going to have free, they give everyone a dessert. They just come and bring it to you. You're like, that looks really good. It's already paid for. Like,
right.
I get free food all the time. And you're just like, okay. So like my hard part is when there's an unlimited amount of free, good, high quality food, it's hard not to want to eat it.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
my issue. And I'm in that scenario a lot.
Yeah. Yep. And a lot of executives are, and that's where a lot of times I'll talk to people about having safety nets. And so, you're going to an event, make sure you bring a safety net with you. And a safety net could be that you have maybe a thing of branched chain amino acids that for you've decided I'm going to sip on this, and that's going to be a deterrent, or a greens powder. Or maybe right before you get there, you've had some almonds and some protein, like a protein bar, as something that when you do have those treats, they don't impact insulin as much as it would. Yeah. So these little tips and tricks that can help that experience to feel a little bit more justified
100%.
And not hit your body the same way.
100%.
Well, Sam, thank you so much. This has been a fun interview. It's been amazing to hear just about your X factors. Again, mindset is absolutely the biggest takeaway. So for our listeners,
if you're not like part of Lance's program, you're an idiot. Like, I'm telling you, there's a lot of fitness people out there. Go join his thing. Like the XFit program, it's helped me a ton. I feel happier. I have a system. It's something easy to follow. So,
and how can people learn more about you? Where are the places that people can find you on social?
At the Sam Taggart on Insta, or just Sam Taggart on Google. You find me.
Brilliant. Well, this has been another episode of the Fitness X Factor podcast. Again, super thrilled at the insights that have come interviewing Sam Taggart, of the CEO of the D2D Experts. Thanks, and remember to subscribe and comment. That definitely helps the algorithm and helps other people. If you've seen impact on this episode, it helps them to also see the X Factor Fitness podcast. Look forward to connecting again soon.
Love that. Peace.
All right. That was fun.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, there was a